Alrighty, we are getting started and we are going to just share what we're doing on social medias real quick. Just very quickly, we're going to share what we're doing and then we will get going. We're just sharing on social media real quick and then we will jump in and talk about the things we are doing today. The things we are doing today. Alright, last bit. And here we go. So we are going to be doing our daily mini painting, and then if we have enough time, we kind of do have a little bit of a time frame here today. Normally I kind of just do what I want to do, go where I want to go, do that kind of thing. And today we have a little bit of a time limit. I'm going to reach all the way through here and grab my drink. We have Dr. Pepper again today. Lovely. We're going to try putting it over here this time so you can not have it blocking your view. We're going to do our micro painting as normal. This is going to be our 6th day of micro paintings. And the goal is to kind of just keep that up as long as that momentum will let us do it. If that means we get a year of micro paintings in, then that's awesome. That's great. But we are definitely jumping in and we are doing the thing. I am a little bit sluggish right now because I just woke up from a nap like less than an hour ago. If you know me outside of just watching this stream, you might know that I'm a swimmer. And I got up super early this morning to do a swim that I wasn't necessarily mentally wanting to do, mentally, emotionally wanting to do. But my swim ended up going super well. But when I got back home from my swim, I kind of just crashed and my body needed that rest. So it got it. As a person who has insomnia, it's kind of one of those things where if my body decides to actually take a freaking nap, my body is going to take the nap. I have no say at that point. Like, if the nap is happening, the nap is happening. So, the nap happened. And my body definitely needed it. So, we are feeling pretty good right now. But also, my brain's moving just a teeny bit slow because we're coming off of a nap. So, okie doke. So, my idea for today is to paint the word swim. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're painting somebody swimming. I am truly not the best at painting people, but we're gonna see what happens and we're gonna do the thing and just kind of roll with it. The thing that I do know is we're gonna do Artist Loft Phthalo Blue. We are going to do I got my elbow in something. We're gonna do some titanium white from Artist Loft. You know it, we love it. We use it like every single day. We are going to, you know what? Let's do something super fun and a little bit crazy. We're gonna use some brilliant yellow. And you're gonna see why this is super fun and a little bit crazy here in a moment. Because that's the only 3 colors we're about to use. We're gonna try something. We are gonna try something and we'll see how it goes. We're gonna grab a little bit more phthalo blue because we're gonna need it if this is gonna work out the way that I want it to. So just phthalo blue, titanium white, brilliant yellow, all from Artist Loft. I've never done it this way before. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take different amounts of these colors and mix them to form varying shades of these colors. I'm not going to be rinsing my brush in between. We've talked about it before. You've heard me say it. Not rinsing your brush allows you to kind of meld the colors a little bit better, and that's a very fun thing to be able to do because it creates more cohesion in your painting. I'm a big fan of it. So we're going to take a lot of blue with a little bit of white, about equal parts blue and white. We'll take a lot of white with a little bit of blue. And honestly, I've just barely touched my brush to that because there's already a decent chunk of blue on the brush, and so we don't need much to create a lighter shade. I want to make this shade just a little bit lighter, not that much lighter. Play with it, find the shades that you like. It's all good, it's all fun. We're not here to nitpick, we're here to just do the thing that we enjoy doing. Next, we will take basically just the blue that's on the brush with some yellow. And we're going to make a greenish color. And this is all going to be just for water. And I will show you what I mean with that here in a few moments. We'll take a little bit more yellow into that. We are basically out of white at this point. That's okay. We'll take a lot of blue with a little bit of yellow. And then we will take, that was a lot of blue, a little bit of yellow. Now we'll take a lot of yellow, a little bit of blue, basically just what's on the brush plus a little bit more. And so using just those 3 colors and just kind of playing a little bit of a mix and match game with them, we now have 9 different colors. And yes, my original color wells are a little bit muddled, but that's okay. But all of these colors are going to really, really work together to make the water how we want it to look. And my favorite technique for doing water has become mixing colors a lot. So I'm now going to take our dirty water, and use that to wet our paper just a little bit more. I know I wet it earlier. We're going to wet it just a little bit more using that dirty water. And this is going to create, our water is very green. It's hard to see through the container, but it is very green. And that's going to create just a little bit of a green tint to the paper, which is great. We're going to work with it. We're going to use that to our advantage. So now with a wet brush, everything on this right now is happening wet. we're gonna pick whatever color you want. Take just a little bit, and look at that effect. Take another color, just a little bit. Make sure your brush is wet. Boom, 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 boom. We're not doing much and we have completely covered our mini canvas. Next color. Don't rinse your brush. Just make sure it's wet, make sure it has a little bit of paint, and go in there. Knock it in there. Next color. Boom, 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 boom. Just knocking it in there. You can pat a little bit if you want to. I'm going for kind of an under the water vibe here. But just boom, 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 boom. That's all it's taking. This canvas is now completely blue with varying shades. I'm going to give it a little bit of a brush off. Then I'm going to go into my greens. We need to make more of that green because that one's a little bit drying fast. Just boom, hit it in there. This is just kind of creating our background of our painting. Just letting those colors kind of do what they want to do. We're getting drips coming all the way down, and that's because it's wet. That's what I want. When I'm doing water, that is exactly what I want. So now I will kind of just go in very lightly, go back and forth, kind of helping these colors blend just a little bit and getting kind of that effect that I want. I am only pulling my brush from the edge to the center. I'm not going all the way across. I am just going edge to center here. And look at that. We already have this gorgeous kind of watery color here. Look at that. So now, like I mentioned before, our titanium white is a little bit muddled. Normally, I would tell you that's a-okay, we'll work with it. Today, I'm gonna get some more titanium white. I'm also gonna grab a smaller brush. We are grabbing our favorite medium-sized micro brush. It knows it's our favorite and it is constantly coming in to help us out. We're gonna add a little bit of white. This brush is wet. I put the brush into the water, into the paint, into the water. It is wet. We're gonna go into the middle and just kind of very lightly, small brush strokes, brush this in there. We're creating where the highlights within our water is. You wanna go all the way to the top. You can have it be smaller up at the top or the bottom, it's up to you. I'm having mine be smaller up at the top and wider the lower down we get. I am trying to only move my brush in one direction, so I'm going across, lifting across, because I'm using my right hand today, so that makes the most sense for me. If you need more, grab a little bit more. We're just blending this to create a lighter area in this water. And I'll show you the next step as soon as we're ready for it, because the next step is also really important to make sure this is working the way that we want it to. So we'll just keep going until we're happy with the light amount that we have, with the blend amount that we have. It's okay if you go a little bit wider. It's honestly better if you go a little bit wider than you want it to be, because the next step we're going to kind of reel that back in. You just want to make sure that you are happy with the blend that you are getting and the way that it is looking in the center. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go back to our brush that we were using before. Get it wet. This is a wet painting. We're doing water or swim. Our word of the day was swim. So now, on the tape, you're going to press it down. It's very wet. Flick it across. Flick it across. Flick it across. You're only going about halfway. Flick it. Flick it. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Get it nice and wet. Flick it. You're starting on the tape though, because if you start on the painting, then what's going to happen is you're going to get the start of that brush stroke on the painting. You want to have the start of that brush stroke be off the side. Now, I'm seeing that my brush strokes, my flicks maybe got a little bit far. That's okay. Here's what we're going to do. Grab your small tiny brush. Grab the colors you want. Remember, it's your painting. Pick whatever colors you want and just start going in. Small strokes. Don't pay attention to where you're putting them. Just plop down some small strokes. Focus out on your edges. Grab whatever color is working for you and your brain in this moment. Hello. I'm glad you could join us. We are doing swim as our word today, because I had a great swim this morning, so we're doing swim. It's fun. I enjoy painting water a lot. Water is one of my favorite things to paint. If you look at my social media, you will see that I have a lot of water paintings happening. So again, now that we've added in that little bit more paint, same thing. This time I'm going to try and keep it a little bit more controlled. I got a little crazy before. Bloop, 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 bloop. Just brushing towards the center. Starting off, brushing towards center. Now, I'm going to use the same brush, wipe it off a little bit on my I'm going to wipe it off a little bit on my paint rag. And just drag it down the center with a little bit of white. Bloop, 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 bloop. And then same thing. Wipe it off the white. Wipe off that extra white. Wet the brush. And bloop, 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 bloop. And back on the other side. So we've got a light section right there in the middle. It looks very nice. Very nice indeed. I don't know where that accent comes from. It happens sometimes. So now, go back in. Pick the colors you like. Have fun with it. Keep everything very wet. And doing these little brush strokes like this and keeping everything super wet is going to create a really, really nice and fun effect. I'm glad you're enjoying the sound effects. I cannot paint without them. So it's just a thing. If you're gonna be here, you're gonna get them. Everything is very, very wet. We're just swishing the colors in there. I'm gonna take a little bit more of my straight phthalo blue, and I'm going to kind of concentrate it more down towards the bottom. Again, just using those small, tiny brush strokes. Be gentle. Let the painting do what the painting wants to do. Have fun with it. It's not worth it if you're not having fun and you're not enjoying yourself. We don't paint because we are professionals. We paint because we love it. And if you're painting because you just want to do it as a job, it's not going to be nearly as fun as if you're just doing it because you love it. Let it be fun. Because this is an extremely wet painting, if I notice that my wells are getting a little bit dry, I'm just taking a little bit of the paint of the water from my paint cup, just kind of working it back in, getting them wet again, because this is a very wet painting, which is what we want. If you're using your lighter blue, you can keep it more towards the center, more towards the top. This is kind of an underwater look that we're kind of going for here. So be mindful of that as you're adding in the paints, and think about where the light would be, where it would be lightest, where it would be darkest. As someone who was underwater earlier today, I can tell you it's typically lightest towards the top and wherever your light is coming in, unless you have pool lights, in which case all bets are off and you're gonna see the light around the pool lights more than anything else. And we'll just keep working it. Keep adding those little bitty streaks. I'm thinking of this as like, our word of the day is swim, right? But I'm thinking of this as more so like what I see when I am swimming, when I am zooming through the pool, than like actually painting swim. So I'm trying to get a look of like what I see when I'm just, you know, maybe in between sets, chilling under the water, chilling by the water, right when I jump in, that kind of thing. I'm not trying to paint somebody swimming in this. I'm just kind of trying to paint what it feels like to me to be in the water. And if you're familiar with me, much at all, you will know of the mermaid theory. The kind of theory is that because my legs don't work and because I swim like a freaking fish, sometimes more than others. Today was definitely one of those more than others days. It's like I am a mermaid who just forgot how to transform. And at some point, I would love to make a children's book out of that kind of very fun little lighthearted bit of theory. It just hasn't happened yet, so we'll see. Maybe one day. We're just gonna keep working it, keep adding. I'm working on greens right now, so my lighter greens are gonna stay more towards the top. They're gonna kind of work in with our medium blue a little bit, because that's where I tend to see the greens when I am in the water. Again, we're trying to remember cohesion here. So my greens are coming around the outside and then kind of swooping out. They're coming in from the outside and swooping towards the middle and then towards that light that's hitting in the middle of the painting. And because of the colors that we've already laid down, that's creating a really lovely sense of cohesion here, which is what we want. We want things to be very cohesive. We don't want there to be too much standing out. If you were to view this painting from further back, you want it to be like all of these little individual brush strokes are just coming together to create one kind of look. That is what we are going for here. So one of my greens ended up having a bit more yellow than I wanted it to. So we're just gonna, with very wet materials, very wet brush, keep working it until we're happy with how it's looking. I think there was just like one spot that wasn't super well mixed, and that one spot kind of just threw things for a loop. That's okay though. Keep working it. This is a very fun way of creating water that's just very, very easy, because you're just doing tons and tons of teeny tiny little bitty brush strokes, and it ends up working together just beautifully to create water. And I'm really not rinsing my brush much. I'm not cleaning my brush much. I'm just dipping and letting the paints work together, letting all these colors kind of just meld and work in the ways that they best do. We can come in with our lightest blue, somewhere in the middle, to kind of blend the effect that we're getting. Making sure everything is nice and wet when you do this, because you're drawing those paints from your sides towards the middle a little bit as you do it. And if your paints are dry, then it's going to be a lot more obvious where that's happening. You can also just take a straight wet brush and do those tiny strokes some more. You can just keep working on it, keep going, as long as you need to. If you're painting along with me and I ever finish before you do, please don't think harshly of yourself. Please make sure to give yourself the grace. I've painted a lot of water. That doesn't mean that you have. And so give yourself the grace to keep working until you're happy with the thing that's in front of you. You don't have to stop or move on because I do. These videos are staying on Twitch, so you can always go back to them. At least for now. I'm not super familiar with Twitch. I know that all the other videos from this week are up there, so. Alright, I am actually really happy with the way that this is looking. So we are going to give it a minute. And we're going to let that kind of dry a bit. There's a plane flying by outside. I'm not far from an airport, so. Okie doke. Well, okay then. Now, we're gonna do something I haven't done before, because I want to add some bubbles. So what I'm going to do, very, very wet brush. Dip it into the white, get a decent amount of white, dip it back into the water. And we're going to very just gently, as small as we can, just do bloop, 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 bloop. Try to not have an organized pattern to this. Some can be bigger, some can be smaller. If you start to notice that you're not really getting your white and you're getting your blues and greens, go back in. Pick up more white. This is just straight white right now, but because it is such a wet brush and such a wet canvas and such a wet paint, we're gonna get kind of a spreading effect that's gonna be really pretty, I think. Again, never done this before. This is kind of an experiment, and that's okay. We can experiment together today. I'm kind of overloading mine with bubbles, I'm not gonna lie, but I just love bubbles. And so I'm kind of thinking of this as like, if I've already moved on, if I've already swam through this spot and you're looking up from the bottom of the pool, these are all the bubbles that I'm leaving behind. And I love it. I love it. I'm actually really very happy with this painting already, and I think I want to go ahead and call this one done, which is a weird thing for me to say, but I will give you a closer look. Very lovely, very fun. Lovely drips going down my cardboard. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I am really very happy with that. So we are going to go ahead and call that one there. I think this might be our fastest micro painting we've done. I do have the added benefit of having worked on water quite a bit before, so if you have been painting along and yours is not done, that's okay. Take the time, keep going, keep following those steps that we talked about where you're just kind of little bitty brush strokes over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Now, onward to the fun stuff. Not that this wasn't fun, but I am going to go ahead and take this down, set it aside. That painting is still dripping. Let me show you the little trickety-doo that I have here. Do you see this little flap? I have paint all up in there. You may have seen that drop right on down. But because this is still so wet and I have this little flap here, that's going to collect all my water while that dries, and it won't get on the floor, which is great. So, I'm in a good mood. I'm doing great. We're going to keep painting for a little bit. We're going to grab one of our spooky paintings. If you joined us earlier in the week, you may recognize these. We talked about all of them briefly, but only worked on one. So, the one that we did before, the one that we finished earlier this week was our little forest ghosty friend. It started off looking kind of like this. We painted over a whole bunch and we came back and we ended up making that. So now we're going to start on one of these night sky-ish ones. There are two of these, two of the other ones. They're all kind of set up the same way. So the other one that's the night sky-ish one looks like this. So you can see that they're kind of meant to be, they're kind of very, very similar in what they're doing. And that was kind of the goal. But that doesn't mean that I love them as they are yet. So what we're going to do, I really love the kind of like nebulous night sky situation that we have going on here. I really do. I'm not sure how I want to orient this painting though. We're going to give it a quick spray down just because I want it to be wet. It does already have paint on it, so it's a little bit different wetting a pre-painted canvas than a dry canvas, but that's okay. We're rolling with it. Rolling. My head is all over the place. I'm sorry. I woke up at like 1:30 and just like immediately got up to do this because we've been doing this at 2 and I didn't want to miss the time that I've been doing it because otherwise I wouldn't want to do it. And I just immediately grabbed Dr. Pepper to help wake myself up. So we're just kind of a little bit blue. Okay. If my chaos is a lot today, I do apologize though. So we have talked about how normally when I'm doing a canvas painting, we will use a paper palette instead of one of these. But we're going to try and just work with what we've already got first. So I'm just going to add a little bit of black because this ain't very spooky if it's not dark. So what I am going to do, we're going to add a moon first and foremost. So when I do my moons, I like to do, you grab, so this is the paper that we've been using for the spookies as like a paint palette. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. I'm going to go ahead and lay it down underneath the little Wells paint palettes, hopefully without getting them a whole big mess. We're going to start by adding a moon to this, and am I totally sure this is the right option? No, but we're going to do it. So when I'm doing moons, what I like to do is I like to use silver and white. So this is our Artist Slough silver paint. I'm going to just go ahead and whop a little bit of it onto the paper. And then we are going to grab some white Our white has little bits of blue from our previous painting. It's okay. There's enough white and silver here to kind of overshadow that. We're gonna give it a little mixy mix. And then for me to do this moon, I'm actually gonna pull it down, pull the painting down from up there, because it'll be easier for my hands to do it real up close. So I'm gonna put the moon up in this area. I am gonna go ahead and do a full moon. And getting these really clean, smooth lines tends to be easiest with a fully loaded brush. So if you are painting along, load your brush up more than you probably think you need to. Get a lot of paint on there. And then just move at your own pace, because we are freehanding a circle. And freehanding a circle is not easy. Don't let anybody try to fool you. It's not easy. If you are seeing artists and painters on the internet who are freehanding a circle and making it look like nothing, it is because they have way more practice and they probably did a couple of takes to get that circle. Do not let them fool you. Also, I absolutely love watching artists paint on social media. That's part of why we ended up starting up this stream. Is because now you can watch me paint if you want. You definitely don't have to. Nobody's obligated. Why? I don't even know where that truck is, but there's a truck beeping out there. That was an accent if I've ever heard one. Okay, wow. Hello, Texas. So now that I have the circle kind of happily how I like it, I'm just globbing extra paint in there. And this is to create kind of a textured-like effect on my moon. And it is going to take ages for that to dry because we have a lot of paint on this moon. But by dabbing it on there just a little bit at a time, come on and focus. By dabbing it on there just a little bit at a time, we're getting almost like little craters in there. And I know it's not focusing well, it's focusing on my hand more than the moon. We're trying here, guys. Doop, 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 doop. It's okay. But hopefully you were able to see just a little bit the way that those craters are kind of getting in there and functioning. At this point, I am comfortable putting it back up on the easel. I'm just dabbing until I'm happy with the crater situation that is going to exist permanently in this space. I am going to tell you, if you are painting along and you just did your moon like I did, don't touch it for a while. We're talking like 24 hours is your minimum of don't touch that thing, because when I tell you it's going to take a while to dry, it's going to take a while to dry. And even when it looks like it's dry, it's not going to be dry, because that top layer where all those dimples are is going to dry first, and it's going to kind of crust, and then everything underneath is still going to be wet. So even when you think it's dry, let it dry some more. That's just my piece of advice to you on this one. So now I am going to take some of my black, and we're going to try and get as much of our lighter green out of here as we can. Just kind of scraping that with the side of my brush. And the reason I'm using that green is because I really like the shade of that green. I just need it to be darker to work with this painting. So we're giving that a little mixy mix. We're gonna get a little bit more water on the brush. So as it exists right now, we have two kind of light sources happening. We have the moon, and then we have whatever's causing light down here. We can either cover that up and just forget that it exists, or we can utilize it. Not totally sure which way we're going with that right now, but we are gonna make some land. So we have this very dark green color using our leftover greenish color from our swim painting. And we're kind of just drop that on in there. I think I know what I want this painting to be, and I'm gonna end up loving it if it works. So we are kind of just building up our ground down here. Because we are painting over other paint and kind of covering up what we did before, I'm not terribly worried about making it perfect because we can always go back in. At this point, we're kind of just establishing where that land is. We're not stressing about where the land is. We're just establishing its existence within the space. I am going to come back through with my brush a little bit more wet and kind of just make sure that we are covering as much as we can. There's nothing crazy poking through. That's kind of the goal here. I'm also going to come back through along the line where the land is and try to make that line as smooth as it can be. That is a bigger concern to me right now than having the land be perfect, is having our land horizon line be smooth. Because if that's not smooth and we start adding detail work in here down in the grass, it's going to be a lot harder to correct the horizon line. Also, if you are watching and you are interested in a spooky painting for your spooky house for this spooky season, or just in general because you love spookiness, these paintings are not available for purchase, unfortunately. They are kind of already predestined to go to certain people. And that being said, I would very, very happily do kind of a recreation of any of these spooky paintings or any of our other micro paintings if you would like. If you are interested in that, you can reach out to me on social media. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and now on Etsy. I know Etsy isn't technically social media, but we count it, I guess. My painting Instagram is Painting on Wheels. You can find me there. You can send me a message there. There are also links to both Twitch from there and my Etsy store. And then that is probably the best way to get in contact with me, unless we already have pre-established contact elsewhere. So like if you have my number, feel free to text me, that kind of thing. Now, what do we want to do? I know what I want to do, but I also kind of want to use the colors that we already have from leftover of the swim painting, and I'm not sure how I want to do that effectively. Let's grab some black. I don't know if you could hear that pop, but that pop was absolutely my shoulder. Let's grab some blues. Just kind of a hodgepodge of our leftover blues because we have a lot of leftover blue and I don't want to waste our paint. I'm kind of going to just mix our blues with a little bit of black. We need a little bit more black. Maybe dark blue. Yeah, I think that's what we really wanted, is that dark blue. So we have this light space that's happening over here, and I kind of want to almost like soften that a little bit, or at least make it a little bit more cohesive with the rest of the colors. So we've mixed up some dark bluish gray color, and we're kind of going to just bring it in here. Little swoopy doops. We'll still keep in some white to help make sure that's a lighter section, but just little swoopy doops. And it might not even matter because we are planning on kind of adding trees and some other stuff to this. You'll have to wait and see what. I'm excited for this one though. If my idea works out how I want it to, it's going to be great. But we shouldn't have stars this close to our horizon, so we're going to correct that. So I just have this dark blue on my palette space down here, and some white is right next to it, so I'm kind of just running my brush through both and then kind of just letting them meld on the canvas. I'm not forcing them to meld, I'm just kind of letting it happen. We can use a little bit of water to help make sure the canvas itself isn't poking through if we want to. We can also gradually transition to using less white, even to a point where we're using no white. But we're just kind of blending, letting it meld, letting it happen. Not trying to control everything that's happening on the canvas, just letting the paint do what it wants to do. At this stage, I care less about having it be perfect and more about just having it be. We can worry about perfection when we're doing things like silhouettes and detail work, like with our fence yesterday. Which also, if you did not see our pumpkin patch from yesterday, you should absolutely go check it out on social media, on my Instagram. Painting on Wheels. It was a very cute pumpkin patch. I might try to show it off here towards the end of this stream. We will see, because I'm very happy with it. It's probably one of my favorite things right now. We also created a very lovely little fox this week that, I'll be honest with y'all, I did not expect that fox to come out as well as it did. And then it just did, and it happened, and it was amazing, and that fox is now my best friend. Sorry. I'm not, though. That fox is like really, really perfect. So if you missed the fox, if you missed the pumpkin patch, I highly recommend going to check them out because they are amazing and beautiful and wonderful, and I love them. we're doing this, we are making sure to bring it all the way down to that horizon line and try to get a clean line down there by the horizon. I'm going to come in with my brush being wet and just blend through this section where we shifted more away from the white. I'll even come in with a little bit more white. Just making sure everything is nice and wet when I'm doing this so that there aren't any real harsh lines happening. I'm wanting it to be more white down here by the corner of the land that we have, because I think what we're going to end up doing is putting a little town over there, and it's gonna be adorable. I'm so excited for this one, y'all. We're not going to finish it today, that's for sure, because this stuff is going to need to dry before we can move on to doing more like detailed stuff on and around it and all that. But I am very excited for this painting. I'm going to add in a little bit more black because we want to make sure that this is kind of blending cohesively with the rest of what we've already kind of created in the sky. We don't want to have to totally repaint the sky. So we just added in a little bit of black, and we're coming in around the edges of where we've done that blue. And this should get us really, really close to the color that we had already existing in the sky. And we'll take the brush very, very wet and using that water, kind of working our very dark paint both up towards the sky more so that it's less obvious, and working it into our blue space. It's just a very wet brush that we're using right now. We're working it both up and down into the blue. Up into the pre-existing sky and down into the blue that we just made. The goal is to make it so that it's less obvious that we painted over anything at all. It's not going to ever be perfectly non-obvious. Don't drip too far. I started to have a runaway drop happen, so we just kind of caught it, and we're just kind of blending it in now. That happens sometimes. If you can catch it, catch it. If you can't, it's okay. Where I can, I am trying to like follow the brush strokes that were previously created, just to kind of help create cohesion. I'm even doing it so that it's not like this blue, more blue color is stopping at one point or another, but just taking it up as far as it needs to create a lovely little blending situation. But we're really just using water to blend and make this thing happen. You can work it as long as you want to until you're happy with it. There's gonna be nothing wrong with overworking this right now. There are times where I will tell you not to overwork something or help work through some of the almost like consequences of overworking. This isn't one of those times. You can work this as long as and as much as you need to. My one piece of advice will be try not to obsess over it, because we aren't going to leave this just hanging like this. There are going to be things that go over it. We're just creating a background right now. So there's no reason to get obsessive about it a whole bunch. We are just making a background. And so with this going to be a background, you don't need to worry about it as much. And plus, if you're seeing a whole bunch of brush strokes, sometimes that's really fun in a painting. Like in our swim painting. That was super cool. Part of the point was to be able to see your brush strokes in there. It creates a very, very fun look to it. So there's nothing wrong with being able to see your brush strokes. I got a little bit down into the land a little bit more than I wanted to there. That's okay. I just saved the drip from dripping further. That's really all I did. If you can follow brush strokes up into the sky, I know that this isn't something that I created in terms of the pre-existing stuff on a stream. So if you can, follow them. If you can't, it's okay. It's okay. I know I say that a lot on this stream, but I say it as much for myself as I do for anyone else, because my OCD tends to make me think things are not okay and that they need to be perfect. So every time I'm telling you that it's okay, just know that I am also telling that to my own brain. Because sometimes saying out loud that it's okay is just helpful. Alright. I'm going to do a little bit more in this section just to help create a bit more cohesion. Alright, I'm really liking that. So I'm not going to tell y'all what exactly this is going to end up being, but if you are a fan of Studio Ghibli, make sure you tune back in, because we're going to have fun with this one. If you are a fan of Studio Ghibli, make sure you come on back. We're probably going to work on this one every day after our micro paintings until it is done. So as you can see, my water is dripping a little bit. We'll just fix that right back up as soon as I show this to you guys and finish it up. For now, I'm going to lay it flat so that won't happen more. As you can see, we added in some land, we added in some streaky sky, and then we've got the big sky above it. I am not worried about the clear kind of distinct line between no star sky and star sky, and we will talk about why next time, but we're going to be adding stuff on top of it, and so it's going to be okay. So that is where we are going to leave this for today, and it's gonna go chill out and it's gonna dry, and then we will continue working on it throughout the week after we finish our micro paintings until it is done and we are happy with it. So we are trying to do these streams at about 2 o'clock every day. If you are able to join in, I recommend that you do. If we end up doing it earlier or later for whatever reason, I will be posting each time the stream is about to start or as it's starting onto social media so that you can keep an eye on that and check it out. Again, if you are looking to follow me on social media, I highly recommend following Painting on Wheels. That is the primary space for my painting stuff right now. We do also have an Etsy store now, Paintings by Shelby Lynn. And as I'm talking, I'm just taking the leftover paint from these little paint wells and just globbing it on to our big paper that acts as a canvas from time to time. When all of these spooky paintings are done, it's going to create kind of like an abstract situation, which I love. And then I consider them like sister paintings. And there is already so many layers of paint on this guy. It's going to be interesting to see how it ends up looking. Because when I'm globbing it on, I'm not really paying attention. I'm just bloop, 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 bloop. And it'll do what it wants to do. It's part of the fun. But yes, if you are looking to get updates consistently about my artwork, you can follow me on Instagram. That is the best place. Painting_on_wheels is where to go on Instagram. It is also linked on my Twitch. You can also check out my Etsy store, Painting by Shelby Lynn. No S on paintings. It's just Painting by Shelby Lynn because my name is apparently too long for Etsy. You can also tune back in tomorrow and see what's going on. If you're not following me, make sure you follow me. Turn on the notifications. Do all the things. Yeah, I think that's my whole spiel for today. I don't know if I forgot something or not, but anyway, yeah, that's where we're at. So I hope you tune back in tomorrow. I hope that you have a lovely Monday. I hope that if you are working, you are having a good day. If you're not working, I hope you're enjoying your day off. I hope that you find the time to create something that is uniquely and beautifully you. And I hope that you will join us again soon. Until next time, create something new. That's the advice I leave you with today. Have a good one.